ready. We already ready. Get your popcorn ready. It's already popping up in here. It's hot.
Run it.
It's hot.
Run it.
We got Joy Taylor in the building.
In the building, ladies and gentlemen. And we already over here fighting. Thank you for coming on the show. Let's get right into it. So all these times, I'm just playing. Thank you for coming on, though. Appreciate it.
Yes. Thank you for having me.
You know, all good. So what are you doing? Like, of course, we know that you're on TV every day, right? You're one of the most beautiful faces on TV.
Thank you.
You're talking sports, and you're always arguing with people. Why are you arguing with people all the time?
I mean, it's not my fault that I'm right and people are wrong, and they insist on trying to change the narrative on that. That's not my fault.
That's how I was in the league.
Are you the TO of female sportscasters?
I would love to be the TO of
we're in good company then. That's what I'm talking about.
Two
I like
TOs,
this.
I'm out.
That would be a great honor.
I quit.
Quit, man. Yeah, you don't want to win then. See, he's a quitter. You know what I mean? You heard it right there, everyone. He's a quitter.
I'm a quitter. So take us back. Like, how did you get into sports? Like I said, growing up in high school, right? Playing sports and being an athlete and all that stuff. Is that where it all started for you? Love of sports?
Well, I grew up in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. So if you have any familiarity with Pittsburgh, it's
from
kind
Cleveland, Ohio.
Okay, so there you go. See, that's why we arguing. I didn't know that. That's
now you know.
We had tension already. That's what it is. So then you just get born into this cult of sports fandom. It's sort of assigned to you at birth. Particularly the Steelers. Rest in peace, Franco Harris. We got that news today. Very sad for Pittsburgh.
That's crazy.
Very sad. But yeah, so you grow up as a Steelers fan at the bare minimum, and obviously sports are a part of everyone's conversation. And it's very much like this in Cleveland as well. Like, I just grew up around women who talked about sports. Like my grandmother, my aunts, my mother is a big Cowboys fan. I don't know how that happened, but that was my existence. That was my life. My brothers, we always argue about sports. Everyone's always debating about sports. And that's just the environment that I grew up in, and particularly in that city, it's just very common. So sometimes when people ask me how'd you get into talking about sports? I'm like, how did you grow up? Because so at the Christmas dinner table, you guys are pretty much having some type of argument about sports, the weather, or like traffic. Like, that's all you talk about.
Right.
That's crazy.
Like, what way did you get to?
You should have went down 3rd Street. Exactly. I told you there was traffic over there. And then the Burger King closed down 3 weeks ago.
They still do that. I'm like, guys, we have ways. Like, you don't have maps in your phone.
And it's so crazy to hear us talk about the commonalities of growing up. How that's a thing for women to talk sports. Growing up in the South is really like it's guys. Or you think about barbershop talk. That's usually how it is. And then obviously being the sister of a big brother, Jason Taylor, who played in the National Football League. How is that? Is that really the reason why you got into sports? Because of your brother, or did you play sports?
No, I played sports in high school, really well before high school. I ran track and played basketball from like 5th grade all the way through high school. I ran track in college. Okay. So I was recruited actually for soccer and track, and I ended up running track for my sprints.
Nice.
For my first year of school.
Right. What could you run?
Okay.
That was a long time. That was another lifetime ago. But really, I have a lot of respect for college athletes because I was a college athlete and I quit. I was like, I can't, this is too much.
To do
I
both.
knew I wasn't that good. I wasn't going to the Olympics.
Right.
And I knew I wasn't, trying to be an athletic trainer or something that, this would really like benefit me to continue doing this. And, I wanted a real college experience. It is a huge commitment to play sports.
Huge in college.
In college.
Absolutely.
To go to school, try to have any kind of college experience. Like, it is it's why NIL, I feel like, is such a big deal.
Right.
It's really a job.
Yes.
And it is a huge commitment that you're not getting paid for. Education is great, but that's not what they're paying you to do.
Right. So how do you like, your brother played football, so you played obviously the sports you did in high school. So obviously to be somewhat well versed in really knowing what the dynamics of the game, this and that and the other, like, where did you learn that? If you didn't play it, you watched it. Is that how you learned the rules?
I mean, that's how most people who, we're not all Theo. Right. Most people watch football and, consume it and learn the game. And like I said, I grew up in a city much like Cleveland where this is what everyone does on Sunday. Buffalo, these cities where the team is really like the heart and soul of the city. Like how they do when they do bad, everyone's in a bad mood. When they do good, everyone's happy. Yeah. Like, they really control the vibe and the energy, and it's a big part of the identity and pride of a city. You got to know what's going on.
Right, to break that stigma of like, you're a girl. You don't know nothing about sports.
Yeah, see, that was never my experience growing up.
Really? No.
Yeah, you might mess around and say that to the wrong one, too.
Yeah, you get socked in the face in the Midwest, yeah.
What you talking about?
Yeah, because they'll be...
And, high school football is very big in Western Pennsylvania also. So it's, it's very common.
Yeah. So again, take us to like the moment where you figured out you wanted to do this professionally, though, because that's a different jump as far as, okay, I like it in college or I might, but no, you you do know what you're talking about.
I had that TV story as a little girl, like doing TV the hairbrush news story in
front of the mirror
and all that. Yeah.
That's hilarious.
But when I really realized it was in college, so I finished school at Barry University in Miami, and I went there for broadcast communication. So I started in psychology because I'd seen Gothica with Halle Berry.
That's hilarious.
And I was like, I want to work in an asylum.
Why? I don't know.
So that's a different story. That's another side.
Right.
But no, I landed where I should be, which was, talking about sports and being in broadcasting. And I got into radio first. Radio was always my first love in the business because I like to talk, obviously. And when I got in the business and in college, I mean, this is a long time ago. This is like 2006, 2007. There wasn't podcasts. YouTube was still very new. Social media is not what it was. It is. Yeah, like if you wanted to talk and be a personality, you had to be on TV, Skip and Shannon, or at that time, obviously Stephen A. And have one of those shows, which is obviously a huge aspiration to reach, or you have to do radio. And there were a lot of opportunities in radio, and still are. And that's where I really got into the business. I started at the student station there at Barry and started interning at local stations in Miami and just learning that side of the business of being a personality. So I always knew I wanted to be a personality. I knew I didn't want to be a reporter. I didn't want to go into locker rooms. I didn't want to stand on the sideline and freeze. And I always felt like I have opinions. I don't want to go find the story. I want to react to the story. And I also saw that that's where the business was trending because of social media and because the internet was exploding the way that it was at the time. We were kind of getting away from the Sports Center era. Like we could now get the highlights on our phone.
There you go.
So we don't have to be sitting in front of the TV to see what's happening.
Everything's accessible.
So now people know the story. They want to know what people think about the story.
Yes.
And now, obviously, as you see, there's podcasts, there's more radio shows, there's digital shows, there's so many opinion shows. And that's kind of where most of the business is now, not just for sports, but also for politics, which kind of ironically are the last two things that we really watch live. So everything else we stream, we watch on demand, we watch on our phones, we record it or it's streaming. Sports, you got to watch live. And if there's a big debate, news story or a big debate or a political race, that's what you follow live. So those are the things that we get day-to-day opinion on.
Right.
So that's where the business has trended, and I really got deeply involved in developing those skills and that part of it by starting in radio.
Right. Do you think, are you going to get into the politics side of it as well after sports, or do you want to just like...
I have a very great track record on reporting political races, like on predicting political races or things that have to do with politics. I probably should be better at that, but I don't share them because I'm like, listen,
that's a whole nother thing.
That's a whole other space.
You
think people hate me now?
Right.
Ciao.
Oh boy,
they'll be mad. But no, I'm gonna stick to sports.
Sports, okay.
Right. We don't want you to go gray before you need to.
I'm good. Eventually, it's gonna happen. I'm gonna lean in for sure. But
really, okay.
A few more years.
Watch out, everybody. You heard it here first.
So, how difficult do you think it was? Because again, that 2006, 2007 is before all the females were like, yes, come do sports, right? You guys were still like, oh no, you guys don't know what you're talking about. Oh, now you're cute. You definitely don't know what you're talking about. So, like, take us through that process of kind of, maybe some hurdles you might have had there.
I mean, I think with anything where it's a male-dominated space or a place where it's harder for a minority group to break into, you have to be excellent. So yes, I'm saying I'm excellent, but there's just...
She said she's excellent.
There's no other option.
You see, I didn't even flinch. I was like, okay, girl, okay.
You have to be better. You have to be early. You have to do more. You have to work harder. You have to be more prepared. That's just the nature of trying to break into a business where people don't see you as equal or that you don't belong.
Right.
So, you're going to deal with that. I still deal with that.
Of course.
And that's probably going to be the case for a long time, unfortunately, but that's what it is. So even now when people ask for advice, I'm like, you just have to be better. And it actually works in your favor because when you do get the opportunity, you're prepared for it because you've been preparing for it your entire career.
Right.
So, there's people that didn't think I could do things or, didn't want to give me opportunities. And when I really look back throughout my career, those moments actually ended up steering me in a completely different direction.
You needed those hurdles to get
Right. So something that may look like a closed door is actually a great opportunity in another direction. So I don't really have any bitterness about it, and
it's just part of it. It's part of
look,
it. Part of the process.
You see where I am now.
So when you give that advice
to
be better, what does better consist of?
I think you can't leave room for doubt. So where if a man says a wrong statistic or says AFC when he really meant NFC or says a coach's name who isn't coaching there anymore, you might get a little pushback or drag. It happens. Listen, we do live television. You mess up in a regular conversation that nobody's listening to.
Right,
so
but when it's live, it's magnified.
Right.
Do you mess up?
Every day.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
that's
so that person sitting there watching you like, see, that's why she shouldn't.
Right.
Right.
Whereas a man, they're not going to go as hard. It's not going to become a whole thing. And you have just a bigger margin of error. You have to be perfect, essentially.
Right.
And that's how you have to prepare. And that's how the people around you have to prepare. Like, there has to be a level of urgency with everyone around you. Like, the producers have to understand we can't mess up because if we mess up and give you the wrong statistic or you're relying on people.
Effect, yeah.
Exactly. And the only person who's going to get blamed is the person who says it.
Right.
And sometimes it is just you mess up. Right. I mean, you're doing a live show. You might just say the wrong name or whatever. Right. It happens.
It's okay.
But you get held to a different standard.
Right. Yeah.
So,
I do it all the time. I think he's Mr. Potato Head. You know what I mean? Sometimes.
Don't laugh.
And somebody, sometimes people get carried away and think he's Will Smith. You know what I mean? It's like
that's in line. That's opinion.
That's that track.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
So again, you're very opinionated. You like to be right. You think that you're right. Of course, when I watch you on TV, I'm like, okay, she knows ball, but she's not right. Right now, there's a difference between right. There's a difference between I'm supporting what you're saying.
I'm sorry, we're subjecting
wrong,
you to this.
Right? So I'm going to take it to your family, though. Right? Do you ever have discussions, not arguments, discussions with your brother about something, and you guys are into an argument because he's probably right because he played in the league, or do you not argue or discuss something that detailed?
No, Jason and I we have very similar personalities. Okay. But where he and I differ is I am very relentless because I don't have a temper. I might seem like I have a temper, but I'm not really ever tripping.
You're just backing your statement.
Well,
he's going to keep going.
I don't think everybody perceives Jason as the one that would be like the aggressive.
Right.
Yeah, he doesn't.
So he would be the one who's like, whatever, you're right. Like,
that's what whatever
you say.
Yeah.
Like,
and then you walk away like, I won.
I know when he's just submitting because he don't want to argue with me anymore.
Right.
But no, we'll have great conversations.
Yes.
We don't really debate stuff too often. I love to pick his brain on things because especially as a defender, he was an old school guy, so he has a different perspective on it. And now he's coaching, so he's having to coach in a new modern
different
football
era
where the rules are different. You have to tackle different. There's the quarterbacks are protected. So I like having conversations with him about it and get his opinion on players because obviously he's going to see things a little differently.
What do you think about this rule with the quarterbacks? How the defenders, obviously Jason played that position where you can't your body weight can't land on the quarterback. What? I don't understand that. And it's a flag.
I understand it because I understand the body position does cause more of an injury than if you land to the side. But it's very hard to do, and you're going to hurt yourself trying to fall different.
So why doesn't that apply to every tackle? Because why does a quarterback body is more valuable than mine? If I'm a player, I'm mad. Because players get, like if you've gotten tackled and guys are just on you
and you go.
For example, I saw the same tackle, Jalen Hurts. That's how he got hurt.
Yes.
I watched it. I just happened to just see the replay, and I'm like, yo, that's the same type of tackle that they just gave a dude.
If that was Tom Brady, he might got a flag.
But he got again, it's the same type of tackle. His weight went onto him. That's how he got his sprained shoulder, whatever the case may be. But then the other guy, just in another game, got a flag, and it damn near cost him the game.
So I hate it.
But
mostly because we have the privilege of watching the replays in slow motion.
Mm-hmm.
So it looks like this defender is purposely trying to throw their body weight on the quarterback.
Right.
But in real speed, you guys know this, this is a 300+ pound
athlete,
freight truck man of solid iron running downhill with all his might trying to tackle someone.
Right.
There are no breaks.
Right.
Like,
there's no freeze frame.
Freeze.
No freeze
there's no
frame.
pause. There's no slow motion. This is happening. So,
no, it's so crazy
how
to me.
I don't understand from like a physics perspective how you are supposed to stop your body from doing that. So that's my issue with the penalty, which I think it should be reviewable, and I really don't like it at all.
Man,
I think it's I very much understand protecting the quarterback. I think low hits on the quarterback.
Right.
The problem is the quarterback position has become so important and so vital. Whether we like it or not, it's the most important position on the field, and nobody likes to watch bad quarterback play. And it's not good for business.
Offensive play. Right.
It's also not good for business, which at the end of the day, it's an entertainment business, an entertainment product. You got to have the best players out there.
I mean, as just out taking myself out of the game and watching it, I don't want to see bad receiver play. I don't want to see bad running back play.
But that's also affected by the quarterback not being a good quarterback. So I understand protecting the quarterbacks, but that particular rule, I think, is taking it too far. It's not realistic.
You're right.
These are huge men who are like unhinged trying to tackle someone and make a play. You're eliminating the power of the defense, which if you're going to make that position that valuable and important, then getting to that position is equally as important.
Have you and Jason discussed this particular?
Yeah, I won't speak for him, but it's not his favorite.
Right, yeah. I mean, I'm not even a defensive player, and it's not even my favorite.
It's very hard. And I think
it's hard to watch. Yo, it's like, this is going to come, this is going to come down to really deciding a big game.
Yes.
And it's gonna throw.
I honestly think the refs do not throw those flags in bigger games and bigger situations.
I hope not.
I think.
But then what's the point of the What's the point of the rule?
What's the point of officiating?
If they're gonna say 17 weeks, they're gonna throw that flag probably the first 15 weeks, let's say. But after that, they're not gonna keep throwing that flag. It's like in the NBA season when you get all of those calls early in the season of the rule changes. Oh, we're serious about it this year, and then it gets to playoff time.
It has trickled down through the levels of football, though. Obviously, like they're teaching guys how to tackle differently at the college level and high school and so forth. So I think over time, the way people play defense will change. We've already seen that over the past 10 years, the trends of it. So. I like defense. I think it should matter. I mean, you see teams this year that have great defenses. Yeah. I mean, San Francisco is an incredible example of that.
Who's your team? Who's your favorite team?
So I grew up a Steelers fan, obviously. So I always root for the Steelers. But Miami has been my team for a long time. Obviously.
So the producer sends down the topic of the day, right? And it's something on the Steelers or Miami. Is there any emotional connect at that point, or is it just like job for you?
Oh, sure. Yeah. And I think as an opinionist, now we are allowed to show biases.
Okay. You couldn't do that 15 years ago.
No, because it was more of a journalist position. Okay. Like I'm not a journalist. Right. I think that journalists are like teachers or lawyers or, I think you should be held to a particular standard if you're the person who's delivering news. Okay. Like you're giving very valuable information. It should be unbiased as much as humanly possible. Right. It should come from a factual place.
Yes.
You're not the story.
Right.
Okay. So
you should be a journalist.
No, I shouldn't.
You should.
My opinion matters.
No, you should be a journalist.
My opinion matters.
No, you should be a journalist.
Your opinion is trash.
Because yours
doesn't matter.
Your opinions are so skewed.
No.
It's said to create controversy and debates.
Woosah. No, I like speaking facts. He likes speaking opinion. And the facts that I speak of, they're coming from something real and something you can physically see or physically touch or smell. He just wants to spew out stuff and say, yeah, because. Like, just because you loud don't make you right.
Which brings us back to the point we were discussing earlier about
Let's not
Patrick Mahomes and Justin Herbert.
Okay.
You just said from a optic standpoint, what you physically see.
See, he already thinks that I said that Justin Herbert was better. I never said that.
Okay, for context.
But you
when I came in,
that's why she's here.
When I came in, everyone was mad at me, which is very
except for me.
Very common.
I'm not.
Thank you, Tio.
I'm not.
A lot of people are mad at me, which is very common.
Okay.
Because we've been talking about Justin Herbert a lot on our show, Speak.
Okay.
And recently there was an article in the LA Times that said that Justin Herbert is potentially the best young quarterback we've ever seen in NFL history.
Okay. Which they said about Patrick Mahomes, too.
Correct. Which I feel like that's very high, very outlandish praise.
For now, at this point
but this is what all we have is for now. We don't know what will be.
Okay. Yes.
All we know is what is. You were saying you like facts and what
Yes.
Okay, so let's not say what ifs,
Okay.
what will be. Let's talk about what is. What has been and what is. What is at this point, which is what we are talking about.
Let me get ready to
is Justin Herbert is a great young quarterback.
Yes, he is.
And
he
I
is
would
very
agree.
talented.
Yes.
I loved him coming out. I wasn't sure what he was going to be. Watched the Rose Bowl, completely changed my opinion. And I think he's great.
Yep.
Right now, he's not the greatest young quarterback we've ever seen at this point through his NFL career.
I would agree with that statement you just made.
It's nothing to agree or disagree with. We have evidence that
he's one of the greatest.
But that's not
that's not what we're talking about, though. We're talking about
I still want to agree with what she
right,
said.
But
We're
you're
talking about the
interjecting.
greatest.
You're right. You're almost trying to lead her to something
That's what I'm saying. Like, let's talk about what is, what will
exactly. You think you slick.
be. What
bro.
has happened? What has happened? But what he's doing is why people get mad, because they're not really listening to the words. And words are important.
Okay.
That's why the article said potentially and
Big
not
word.
is. Right. But right now, Patrick Mahomes is that guy. And it didn't happen so long ago that it was a different era.
So let me ask you this, though, because you used his statement and you used the word potentially, which that's his statement, and you say it's Patrick Mahomes, but you don't use the word potentially.
Right, because it already happened.
Right. So that, to me, it's a big difference of statements is all I'm saying.
Okay, so but when does the potentially end? Does it end when he's no longer a young quarterback? Like where does that word take you? Because what I'm looking at is the body of work that we have now.
The threshold of where Justin Herbert is at this point versus where Patrick Mahomes was at the same time.
Right. People are arguing the statistics, which I think are fun, but I'm also concerned about accomplishments. And when you have high-level statistics, which obviously Patrick Mahomes did, and accomplishments, I can't disregard your accomplishments because we're excited about what's new.
Yes.
And it sounds like hate when it's really just what happened.
Right.
And we do this a lot in media. We get excited about new things, which is great. But where I think the conversations go toxic, which is what I was saying, is we just want to just put the new person in.
That's what I have a problem with that as well.
And can we just say we're enjoying watching his greatness while also acknowledging he's not as great as someone that is still in the league and is his peer right now and in his division?
Aren't you in control of that, though?
I am. I said all this, and they're still mad at me.
Okay. Because, again, I'm not disagreeing with that. I was starting the conversation with a statement because, to me, there's still 10 million people that think Burrow is the youngest, best quarterback in the NFL. Then there's another 10 million that say Herbert. There's another 10 million that's all irrelevant.
There's 10 million people that say Burrow is better than Patrick Mahomes.
Absolutely.
No way. What planet do you live on?
You got
go to Cincinnati.
You got the other end.
It ain't even 10 billion people living in Cincinnati. Okay. So again,
okay, and so
there are people in Cincinnati that will say that because Burrow always beats Patrick Mahomes.
That's pure bias.
But that's what I'm saying. That's my point. You just made my point.
What I'm saying is just history. Yes. I have not even inserted my opinion yet. Everything I said was just all stuff that happened.
Yeah.
And if you Google works where you live, you can look it up for yourself. I didn't say my opinion. My opinion is, based off of all the facts I just said, Patrick Mahomes is a better quarterback than Justin Herbert right now. And he has a more accomplished career, which is not debatable, right now. Now, what will Justin Herbert eventually do? I don't know. We're going to find out together.
That remains
But
to
as
be
of right
seen.
now, it is not up for debate.
Yes.
And because, I don't know, maybe it's my delivery or something, I should smile more. I don't know. But it is upsetting to people. So that's
I guess that's where I'm getting at. Like, why be upset people out there? Because to me, it's an opinion. It's not a fact. Because if you're talking about anytime you want to say top 5 or best player, those things shouldn't even be discussed. In my opinion, in sports, because it's just a barbershop talk.
But that's what we do. That's what we do in sports. We argue about sports. Like that is our love language, is arguing. That's what we do.
But we hate it.
We hate it, yes, but being mad is a lifestyle. Like that's what it is. That's what it is.
It's like we go through this again. We were talking about it on the show again. It's this one receiver has 6 catches. And he has 80 yards and 2 touchdowns. And on Sunday, well, this could be the next T.O. and this could be the next Moss. And we're like, the dude's in his 3rd year. What are we even talking about?
I don't really love comps. I gotta be honest with you.
Right.
I don't love comps.
All of those situations and conversations, like, why are we having these conversations
and why
so
people,
early?
Right, especially why people in your position, why do they say that? Like, it makes it hard to watch and even listen to people when I'm like, yo, bro, what are you talking about?
I don't love comps. I don't think there are actually that many comps. Like when we look back at guys that we've compared them to each other, very rarely are we like,
well, let me
like when have you? There's one Barry Sanders.
Okay,
like have we ever seen someone like, oh, like he kind of runs like Barry Sanders?
Have you all said Patrick Mahomes is the next Tom Brady?
I've never said that.
How many times have you heard it?
I don't think anyone should be compared to Tom Brady.
That's all I'm saying.
We had a conversation.
That's all I'm saying.
I think last week, it might have been, what day is today? I don't know. I can't keep track. Very recently about Joe Burrow being the next Tom Brady. Or being like Tom Brady.
Right.
And I am adamant about no one should be compared to Tom Brady.
Already,
you can have elements of your game that are Tom Brady-esque.
Right, which is fine.
I don't even like that, because what makes Tom Brady Tom Brady? Oh, yeah. 7 championships, more than any organization in the history of sports. He's played for, what is this, his 22nd year?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
He had a dynasty for 2 decades and left and immediately won another championship with another organization.
Yes.
He's the greatest, in my opinion, because obviously this is where it gets into opinion.
Shoot. She said opinion, y'all.
He's the greatest quarterback of all time. He's the most accomplished. See what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
He's the most accomplished.
He's spewing.
I'm joking.
He's the most accomplished quarterback of all time. That's not opinion. That's just a fact. He is the most accomplished.
That's a fact.
And prior to
Brady, you're saying?
Yes.
Brady's the
okay.
Yeah,
I would agree.
By using the word accomplished.
I agree with that.
But if you get into who's the best quarterback, you say Joe Montana, who most people agree with for a very long time.
Absolutely.
You can say a lot of people think that Marino. A lot of people think that Aaron Rodgers is more talented.
Absolutely.
Go on and on.
Right.
He's the most accomplished, and he's the greatest winner we've ever seen in the history of the NFL.
Absolutely.
So to me, that being the essence of who he is, I don't feel like it's necessary to compare anybody to him, because until you can be on that level of accomplishment, we don't know that you're like Brady.
We're not even having the conversation.
Right.
Yes.
So being a leader of men, and that's really what the Burrow conversation was about. Like, he's a winner. He was a winner at LSU. True. He came to Cincinnati, an organization that had been habitually terrible. Took it to the Super Bowl, which I think is an incredible accomplishment.
Right.
Absolutely.
With a terrible offensive line, coming off of a major injury. I can go on and on. I love Burrow.
And if he had an offensive line, they would have won.
Can I stay right there on your offensive line comment?
Sure.
Because there's such a huge...
You guys are making me want popcorn now.
Yeah.
Oh, get your popcorn. That's why it's called Get Your Popcorn Ready.
Get
your popcorn ready with Joy Taylor right here is how we do it. Bye. Okay, so you say bad offensive line. To you, because you've never played the position.
I have not, no.
What's your definition, and what do you see as a bad offensive line?
I mean, listen, playing an offensive line, I think, is very...
Very hard.
It's a very hard position anywhere on the offensive line, anywhere in the trenches at all,
of
for
course,
real.
Absolutely.
But offensive line is very difficult. It's very choreographed, more than people understand. You have to be an incredible athlete. You can't just be a big boy.
No.
You have to have great feet, great hands, great awareness. You have to know the plays. So it's not an easy job, and it's probably the most underappreciated job.
Absolutely.
And if you're great, no one says your name.
Right.
And they only pay attention to you when you give up a sack or you don't block the run and all of that.
Or you have longevity.
Correct. You have longevity. We give you credit. But I mean, Joe Burrow was running for his life.
Okay.
Most sacked quarterback since,
again,
I don't know how, yeah.
From media, this is because as players, you guys see offensive line.
Right.
we see coaching. We say, why are you guys having this type of protection versus this defensive?
Sure,
play?
and that's fair.
That's what we would say.
That's fair.
You see what I'm
One
saying?
of the most underrated parts of the dynasty in New England was Dante Scarnecchia.
Yes, absolutely.
Having an amazing offensive line
It's huge.
There's
only 5 in the world.
To me, when you get a young quarterback, the first thing you should do is an offensive line. Everyone always thinks you need to get them weapons. To me, the first thing you need to do is get them an offensive line.
Protection.
That should be like get the quarterback. All of your next picks should be offensive linemen.
Right. Yeah. I agree.
And a running back. And then work on building everything else. So you
Because
start in
you
the trenches to me.
Right, because you can have some average skill positions.
Have a couple
That can get elevated by a great
Right,
quarterback and
exactly.
timing. Yes.
Absolutely.
You have a couple little hatchets running out there. You don't need a
I don't
TO.
know about that.
You don't need a TO.
You won't never make it anywhere, but you can have a couple of hatchets out there.
Don't be a hater.
They might not go
Don't be a
far.
hater.
You know what I was thinking about before I came in? I saw this quote the other day, and it's been sticking with me, and I think it's a big part of my personality. And I thought of you actually, and it's funny that you said that I would be the TO of female sportscasters, which I would consider to be a huge honor. Have the courage to be disliked,
Absolutely.
and I think you had a lot of that in your career.
I did.
And you would do amazing.
If it was 2022?
Right, yes.
Oh, I agree.
I would love covering you
I
Oh,
wouldn't.
for
at
but
this
sure.
level.
I was just telling you, if I was born 20 years later,
You were very much ahead of your time. You were.
oh my gosh, we wouldn't even be here, to be honest. We wouldn't be having this conversation.
You're right. I would hate you.
We wouldn't even probably be here.
I would absolutely hate you.
Hey, but I'm here, you're here, and hey.
But I think it's important to have
To know who you are
to have
means you know who
self-awareness.
you are not.
I don't
Yes.
believe. When I say this, people get really upset. But I do believe it. I don't believe in humble.
Not
Be
as-
humble before
as an
God.
athlete,
No, as a person.
as a person at all.
Humble before God.
Okay.
For other people, I'm not humbling myself. Every time I've been humble for another person, it's backfired on me. They've taken advantage of me.
Okay.
Because they're trying to they're trying to convince me, and they have successfully done that, that I should feel less about what I am, that I should hide something
Man,
that's great about me,
crazy. That is
that I should
really
apologize for
Right.
something that really makes me great because they don't feel comfortable around
And that's
me.
on them.
And honestly, that's when I played, especially in San Francisco, I felt like that's what my coaches were trying to do to me. Steve Mariucci, I cannot stand him to the day. I promise you.
Yeah, the
I
relationship.
honestly felt like that they tried to suppress me from being who I was.
Of
and
course.
I honestly
You got to be a puppet in the league.
I just had to just
that.
block it out. And even trust me, I didn't like him for like the time. Like once I went to the Star after that, and how he suspended me, the league didn't suspend me, all that stuff.
Suspended you after the Star?
Yeah,
know
our relationship and what I thought about him went downhill.
No, it's
Went
why I
downhill.
say that. I think you should have self-awareness, right? I think you should be able to read the room, know when, okay, like I need to let
Chill
this
out.
person shine,
Right.
or I need to chill, or whatever. Just self-awareness to me is very different than humility.
Okay.
So when I hear people talk about, this person needs to be humble, like they need to be humble, like for you,
For him. 'Cause
For
they don't have
who?
the confidence.
Yeah.
why? If they were humble, they would never be where they are. Do you know the insanity that you have to possess to believe that you can accomplish something like
Right.
be great in the NFL?
Yeah.
Or be a woman that gets paid to give her opinion about sports?
And when somebody tells like, or because I've heard that too, it's almost like you're arrogant. It's like telling somebody you're arrogant.
Yeah.
And that's how I
I am arrogant.
But you have
I am arrogant.
to
Really?
say I'm confident, and some people
Right,
say,
but
well,
that- I
confidence
mean-
is arrogance. Okay, it's
Right.
I am
fine.
arrogant because people have told me my whole life that I'm not going to be shit.
Right.
Sorry, oops, I don't know.
Yeah, you can
Right,
curse.
yeah,
You're
man,
good.
you don't get
It's
your
popcorn.
popcorn ready.
People have told me my whole life that. They've told you your whole life that.
Well, they didn't tell me that my whole life.
Well, okay.
I didn't know I was going to play.
Yeah.
We don't have this conversation.
I told you enough. You ain't.
I heard enough
You
now.
You certainly
dude.
had people doubt you, and you certainly had people try to make you feel
You
small.
need the doubters, though.
For sure. When I got in the
welcome
league,
the doubters.
when I got in the league, that was really when I had a coach honestly make me feel like I wasn't as valuable as I was. That's how I felt. He made me feel. And honestly, I played literally. Steve Young even said it. I played with a chip on my shoulder.
You have to.
And then sometimes it didn't even have nothing to do with the team. It was about the people inside my building that were coaching me. And literally that's how I played. I played angry.
Yeah. And I think that's important sometimes to tap into that. But I think especially with big personalities, most people, I said people are uncomfortable with swag. It makes people uncomfortable. Right. Especially if it's something that they don't understand.
Lesser people are uncomfortable with it.
I don't know if it's lesser.
I would say.
I don't want to put people in different categories. And swag is different. Like swag doesn't mean that you are a big personality. You can be, you can have your own swag. Everyone has their own whatever energy and their own personality. Right.
You know what I mean?
It doesn't have to fit into one particular category. But when you have that kind of confidence, you recognize that in other people, and you don't feel the need to drag them down so that you feel comfortable. Like you can move in different spaces. And I think having a certain sense about you that is almost a little arrogant is what keeps you from submitting to failure. And I think that the greats all have that in their own way. They might not exhibit it in the same way, but do you think that Tom Brady is an unhinged arrogant? That he had to believe that he could be the greatest, most accomplished player in NFL history as a 6th-round pick?
It's just what side do they see of that? Jordan was the same way.
Right.
I said if Jordan was around in 2022, people would hate
him.
Michael Jordan.
They would hate him.
You think so?
Because the cameras are around. You know how many things Jordan got away with because he was...
I could see that part, yeah.
The security and...
Yeah. Oh,
but they would hate him today.
Man, and it's so crazy. I'm a Michael Jordan fan. I mean, Brand Jordan... I've been around him. Even some of the stuff that I saw, I was like, wow, he did that. Yeah. He said that. Yeah. But I didn't hate him because that's what made him him.
Right. Because game recognized game. You can
that's what made, you may not have liked it, but it's a lot of people do a lot of things that, or say that they don't like, but that's what makes them them.
I do think that we consumed sports differently than we do now. I have a theory that we won't have stars like Michael Jackson or Michael Jordan or Madonna or Elvis Presley, Marilyn Monroe. We won't have stars like that ever again.
We won't.
Because there was a lack of access that we had at that point in media that just doesn't exist now. If you saw Michael Jordan on TV, you had to be sitting in front of a TV at the exact time, that he was playing or be there present. You weren't going to see him again. You couldn't go on your phone and go see what he was doing for Taco Tuesday. Like, you just didn't have the access.
It was an aura. it was more of an aura.
About what Deion has done at JSU. Everybody has seen with the access that he's giving his son, obviously documenting everything.
Right.
To where now you're seeing really the impact and who Deion
There was a big hero worship element because of the lack of access that existed for stars in that era.
Yes.
So now that's why LeBron is scrutinized the way that he is. He's not really that polarizing of a guy, but we just have so much access that it
everything he says.
Yes,
and
it
does.
almost convinces people like they're not that far away from LeBron James.
Right. I can say anything I want to this guy
because it's LeBron James. Like there's a gap between him and everybody else.
There's a gap between him and you. For sure.
And just like there's a gap between me and you.
I knew you was going to say that. I knew it. As soon as I finished that statement, I was like, I should have.
Right
T.O. had a pretty decent career. You know I don't know if that's like...
Yeah, all right.
There's a gap between,
No, it's a... it's the same confidence I have. I mean, I think I was better than T, but who else in the world would ever say that? Right?
I think it's great you believe that.
Right?
That
it's like, it's your own... Well,
it's back to our opinions and facts conversation we were having.
Girl, you took it right out of my mouth. There's opinions and there's facts.
I'm out.
There's opinions
I'm so
and
out.
there's facts.
I hate on both of these people right now. No, again, the media, again, we're not mad at the media, right? We don't feel no negative type of way about the media. We just want to understand the media. And there's just so many things that come out weekly, daily, that we're like, why did they choose that topic? Like, are you ever getting the topics that you want to talk about, or is this always coming down from producers, network, all that? Or do you actually get some input on something?
Right, because there are sometimes people like, why are they bored?
Why are they doing that?
Why are they... Is there anything going on in the world that they have to talk about this versus that?
Right.
I mean, the consumer directs more of that than you think. Like,
why would you? Why?
Like, people always complain about the Cowboys. well, the Cowboys are the #1 brand in sports in the world.
Right.
Not in the United States, in the world.
Right.
The biggest brand in sports in the world.
Right.
So whether you like or hate the Cowboys, those are the highest rated games, the highest rated television shows every single year.
Right. Cowboys
games. Regular season Cowboys games are like the highest rated games. So we're not like talking about Cowboys because we like the Cowboys. I don't care about the Cowboys.
Right.
Sorry, Mom. But
So
you know, I'm not a Cowboys fan.
Do you
it's
think
just,
if you didn't talk about the Cowboys Monday through Saturday, the ratings would be different on Sunday?
Yes.
Really?
We have to talk about the things that are the most popular. So if everyone's talking about LeBron, which most people are, we're going to talk about LeBron. Most people are talking about Kevin Durant, which most people are. We're going to talk about Kevin Durant. It's not like a media conspiracy. Like I don't get a list from the man like talk about these things.
Right.
Like that's not how it works.
Okay.
The consumer, through ratings, through interactions, through clicks, through views, consume things that are bigger brands and bigger stories at a higher level. So it's not a like media. I don't have an agenda.
Right.
You know, if it was up to me, we'd do 7 topics on the Dolphins and then talk about what we're going to do with Kenny Pickett.
Right.
You know, but I have to talk about what the consumer wants to talk about. And there'll be times when I'm like, I think we should do this over this. You know, I think more people would be interested in this, or let's see how this plays. You know, it's definitely a collaboration, but there's not like some edict from someone upstairs. It's like, we must talk Cowboys or else.
I'll be wondering. I'm like, why are they talking about this again?
It's like, it's
well,
old
we also
news.
do national shows. So local shows obviously have because I've done local shows. I did a local sports talk morning drive show, 4-hour show in Miami for years before I came to Fox.
Right.
And local shows are obviously produced completely differently. And you would talk about local things that local Miami fans want to talk about.
Of course.
Like they care about what's going on with the Florida Panthers.
Exactly.
They care about what's going on with the Marlins.
Interesting.
They care about what's going on with the Heat. They care about what's going on with the Dolphins. Where there might be one big, huge national story that you might put in the show, for the most part, you're talking about that. But someone who lives in Milwaukee is not listening to our show.
No.
For what? They don't care about this.
Right.
But if someone from Milwaukee and someone from Miami are both watching the same national show, what is something that they're both going to be interested in? So you have to produce national shows for a broader audience.
Right.
So like it's like when you tune into a radio station to listen to music. And you've been driving around all day. You're like, man, every time I get in the car, the same song is on.
Same stinking song.
Because it is. Because people have called in to request this song. And the more that people call in to request the song, the more it gets put into rotation because it's a popular song. So you are hearing it because they're playing it for someone who's listening for 20 minutes, not somebody who's like you, who's been out of the car all day. So you are hearing the same song. It's not like you're not imagining it.
Right.
So
it's called playing the hits.
So would your response be the same as just say people that listen to the media talk about Kyrie Irving and the anti-Semitic situations versus the Jerry Jones situation?
Yeah, I think that is where being critical of the media is very, very fair. I think that's fair. And when that situation happens, that was my response. That was my initial feeling when that article came out. I read the whole article, and my first thought was, this is not going to get covered the way that Kyrie's situation got covered.
And why do you think that is? Because I mean, I'm honestly I'm happy LeBron did what he did and said what he said because again, he's saying what a lot of people probably have thought. Not a lot of players had the guts to actually say it. But yeah, I mean, it's just like, okay, well, why is this getting the coverage and this isn't?
Well, we know the obvious.
Because Jerry Jones runs the media.
No, Jerry doesn't run me. I don't get paid by Jerry Jones.
I mean, he's running the producers.
Certainly, local media, Jerry has a lot of power over.
And national,
Dallas,
ESPN,
that's
NFL
essentially
Network.
who's paying. That's who's paying those. I mean, he's not physically paying them, but the team they get paid to cover that team. And powerful people have power. That's what it is. That's the dynamic of everything in life. Kyrie is a player and a black man. And Jerry Jones is an owner and a white man. Yep. And most of the owners are white.
Most of the people
and
in
he
power.
has a lot of power.
Right.
And owners who have billions of dollars, billionaires have more power than millionaires. So where I think it's the media's responsibility, and this is what I said in reaction to that, and I was glad that LeBron did that, and LeBron has the power as a player to introduce that conversation and bring it to the forefront. Because we know, anyone who's ever had a boss, like the Cowboys player's boss is Jerry Jones.
Yeah.
And you know you can't always say what you want to say.
About the boss. Can't do it.
And that's not like, that doesn't make them sellouts or weak. Like, this is how it works. This is how the whole world works. Like, it's not media. It's not exclusive to the NFL. Like, it's very easy for people to point fingers and say, oh, like, you need to say something or you need to do this. Like, write that man a check then.
Right.
So he can say what he wants to say.
Right.
Because you're not doing that. You're not risking your money and your future and generational wealth for your family to say what you want to say. We all have things we want to say that we can't say. But when it's when the media reacts the way that they did to Kyrie, you need to keep that same energy for Jerry Jones.
Right. And even I'd be remiss if I didn't bring it up. Even with the situation with Brett Favre, like that honestly has really
and it's not an excuse whatsoever. Where I will say, for nuance, the difference is Brett Favre is not playing right now. Like, Brett Favre is not. If he was in the league, it'd be different. Like, Kyrie is a player that's playing right now. Yeah. What Brett Favre did, I mean, it's not even comparable. Like, it's despicable.
Right.
It's criminal. It's insane that happened.
Like I said, when I see him, bro, I'm gonna let him know how I feel, bro. That for me, because I know what it's like to be a black kid or just in a black community not having anything, and to be basically stripping them, bro. That irks me.
It's a really awful situation.
Man, that irks me, bro. To know what he did, bro. That's not cool at all. At all.
So do you go to your producer and say, I want to talk more about this topic, or is that like off limits if you did want to?
No. You have the power to do that, for sure. It's not going to overrule everyone else on the show. Of course, it's not going to, I'm not going to be like, hey, I want to lead with this, so we're not doing this topic anymore. And just, this is obviously, like I said, it's a business. These things have formulas. We get ratings. We get interactions from, what you guys watch, what you consume. Okay, we did, this ratings segment. It was the worst rated segment of the show. Okay, we're not going to do ratings anymore. Obviously, that's not what this audience at this time of day is interested in consuming, or it doesn't work for our show or whatever. And it's not an exact science. But again, like, it's a play the hits business. That's how it works. Obviously, we have the ability, especially as opinionists, to be honest about things like Kyrie and Jerry Jones. And I think for me, I think back to the like humble self-awareness conversation, for me, it's very important because I do have the privilege of giving my opinion on a big platform, that I am always reflective of the energy that I give to every situation, and that I'm always checking myself, because it can be very easy when you have a microphone to just, I mean, we see people do it all the time, just say things and we're like, why would you say that? Why did you think there was going to be no consequences to you saying that? And it can happen because you get so used to the microphone being in your face that you're like, I'm just going to say what I think.
Did I just say that out loud?
Yeah, and sometimes it's like, hold on.
That's inner monologue. That's inner monologue.
Like, hold on, let's run this through a couple times. Yeah. And you can let it get off the rails pretty quickly. So I mean, that's my own like personal philosophy on what I do. But I also have someone very close to me, obviously my brother. I have friends. I have family members. Both my nephews play D1 football now. That when you see that this is a human thing, we are talking about human beings.
Yes.
We are talking about people who have careers. They have families. If they get traded, it's not just them moving to another city and putting on a different uniform. Yes. Their wife now has to pack up their house. They're not going to be together for 3 weeks. They have to move kids to the new school. Yeah. They got to figure out how to get to work. Their whole routine is changed up. Now they got to find a new nutritionist. Like, there's so many levels to things. And that's just the practical side. That's not even the emotional side. That's not even the mental side or the spiritual side of having this colossal change in your life. So, and that's just something that is a part of the business. Like, there's so much more to it than that, obviously. But I think, as the media, we have a real responsibility to remember that we're talking about people.
You sound so much wiser since you've warmed up to me.
Is that what's happening?
Yeah, she's taking my lead.
I feel like we were having just a high vibration conversation.
Well, if you haven't noticed,
we were arguing about Herbert and Mahomes.
Right.
He interprets things a little bit different than the norm.
Absolutely.
I do talk for a living, you know.
So do I.
Mesmerizing, you know what I mean?
So let everybody know where they can find you on your social media.
Oh, as I put the popcorn in my
all good. Yes,
I know I have popcorn in my teeth.
Me too, so it's all good.
I did Invisalign, so now like all
great.
Yes.
it's great. I love it, but now I have like where I used to know where I would get stuck in my
And
teeth.
now it's a new place.
Now I'm like, all right, I always got to chew over here. I'm on Speak Monday through Friday, 4:30 p.m. Eastern. That's on FS1 with Fox Sports 1 with Emmanuel Acho, LaShawn McCoy, and Dave Howman. And prior to that, I was on Undisputed with Skip and Shannon. Okay. We had you on that show several times.
Shout out to Shannon.
Yes.
Yeah, they had like a heated debate not too long ago.
Yeah, that's a debate show. You get into it. I mean, I wasn't there. I just saw the clip.
Because I've never seen really Shannon like that way. So I was like, was this
I think it
kind
was
of manufactured?
I don't know
in
if
a
it was
sense?
real.
I will say, I honestly don't know because I'm.
You weren't there?
I wasn't there, but I will say they have a lot of respect for each other. I mean, you've done the show before. And it's kind of like, you know, when you get into an argument with your brother or something, you do get emotional. Like, you'll be legit mad about what you're saying. But at the end of the day, you go to break, and you're like,
hang on to
we're arguing about Tom Brady.
Oh, because everybody wanted me to slap Skip before I went on the show. Like, I was pissed at him, you know what I mean? But like you said, I was just so mentally strong with my career and things. Like I said, he was really he's kind of the reason why people feel the way that they do about me, just the perception. Because he covered me early on in San Fran, and then he kind of just flipped the script. He loved me, then all of a sudden I became the bad guy, the bad boy, and then everybody kind of just jumped on the bandwagon.
That's the power. I think now that's a little bit been diluted from the media,
Absolutely.
and I think it's a positive thing.
Yeah, it is. But yeah, for so many years, like I said, had I had the platforms that we have now,
right?
Then yeah,
I think the media bashing is fair because from my perspective, because I don't take myself that seriously. Like, if you disagree with what I say, like, that's fine. Right. You're entitled to your opinion. I'll be okay. I'm gonna go to dinner later with my friend. I'll have a nice night. It's all right. We can all like enjoy our lives. And you disagree with me, but I think when we're talking about very serious things, that's when the media has a very big responsibility. And what you bring up is why I'm glad that we're in the space now where we have podcasts and players have access to social media and they can do their own shows and go live or whatever else, because you can't. It was a big imbalance with the story and the narrative.
Yep, exactly.
When you didn't have access to your own platforms. Right. And if you did speak out or go rogue, then it was, it was considered, you're outrageous, you know.
Like what they call team obliterate. He started calling me names, this and that and the other. I'm like, yo. Like, it got out of hand.
And it was hard to reach people. Like, you couldn't just...
Couldn't call them up and say,
hey, what's up?
Right.
Yeah, so I think it's a very good thing that we're at, the space... There's a good balance now, I will say, where if something is not true, you can come out and say that it's not true. You can portray yourself in a way that you want to be portrayed.
Yeah, because
if people think that you're not working out... You can post workout videos. Whether you're actually working out or not, you can have some in the bank and just post them every day. And that people pay attention to that stuff. Right. So I think it's a good thing that we're at the place we're at now.
I mean, because it's immediate. You know what I mean? Because even Draymond, right after a game, he's going right to the podcast. If there's something going on, he's going to address the issue. I'm like, this is crazy.
And not all players are going to do that, obviously.
Everybody,
so I think we kind of, with anything, we get these huge pendulum swings where people are like, oh my God, I'm not going to need beat reporters anymore. Like, no, someone's still got to go to practice and get the updates on the injuries and stuff. Like, relax. But it is a good thing that we have players like Draymond who are willing to give us that kind of instant feedback, from a player that was in the game contributing and have that kind of info while also being able to talk to Steph, who's not going to do a podcast and, speak to him after the game. And I think it really helps contextualize historically what we're consuming, because when I think back now, when there was only beat reporters and there wasn't even really that many TV stations covering, like, what kind of stories did we miss out on?
Tons.
You know, what kind
millions.
of, yeah, because we didn't have the access to be able to hear from players.
The other day, everybody, like, always, I hear that, like, man, what do you think, how would you think Michael Jordan would be if they had cameras back in his day?
It would have been a whole different deal.
Well, even just social media, like this, you know, let's be honest, like I was, Facebook came out my freshman year of college.
Hilarious.
So 2004. So we were like the
book.
We were the testers for all of this.
And
like
it worked.
Yes, exactly. For this new level of access. But I mean, like how would some of these, you know, 90s Cowboys be covered, or, you know,
the White House be covered,
right?
Yeah.
If you had but it really hit me during The Last Dance because you bring up Jordan,
right? And that's what I was just about to say.
What?
There were some things going on in
would
Chicago.
that team be covered?
But we didn't have
Rodman's just gonna leave and go to Vegas?
Yeah.
You want to talk about having power over the media?
Yeah.
That happening?
Yeah.
Dude, do
I'm
you know
watching
how
that like, no way.
Do you know how crazy that would be?
No way.
If everybody
You'd have the media following him.
What?
Media would follow him on that journey.
They would have been waiting.
Yeah.
No, they would have followed him.
They wouldn't even need to send somebody. They'd be like, who's in Vegas?
Right.
Exactly.
They would be waiting.
Wait till when he lands, you go follow him the rest of the way.
Bro, he got on the motorcycle with the money. Bro, I'm talking about this. We were thinking the same thing. I'm like, yo, because all this stuff was documented.
Yeah.
This was documented that nobody knew. And
it was cool. Imagine how Phil would be covered for allowing that.
Oh, he'd be the worst coach ever.
The worst coach.
Right? That's what people would say.
Ever.
Oh, you
Michael
let your
Jordan
players
would have been
do
the
all
worst
that.
teammate for not checking him and making him stay.
There you go.
Phil would have been a bum for allowing him to leave.
Yeah.
It would just, the whole thing, and all of that coverage would have changed how they handled it.
Exactly.
You
and
know?
then it would have changed.
Because they probably would have been pre-pressured to
do it a certain
X,
way.
Y,
Yeah.
Z, you know what I mean?
Spin it
And
this way.
I mean, maybe, look, it worked out. They won a championship, so I guess we can't say it was the right
Clearly,
decision
like
or
I
not.
said, he's a Zen master for a reason, so clearly he knows something we don't know.
Zen.
What happened or what would have been. What happened was he let him do it. They won the championship.
Right.
The opinion and the facts.
Yes.
Again.
Right.
Well, thank you, Joy, for coming on. We appreciate you. Thank you for taking the time.
Thank you guys.
Yeah,
Thanks for having me.
absolutely.
Thanks for the
There
snack.
it is. Absolutely. See you next week. Get your popcorn ready.
Cheers.